Good morning, good morning, good morning. What's good? It's your boy Coach Jah. Coffee time with Coach. You know what it is in the building, bright and early. Well, it's not too bright because it's a rainy day. I'm gonna dedicate today to my brother So Trues. He's got his own label out, his own clothing line. He's actually you guys came down with the COVID-19. We just found out he got it, so we got to get him some stuff to his house, help him get his system jump started back. And I'm just over COVID. I'm so over it. It just came in a wreck shit, and here we are. Right, we got to live with this bullshit right now. And but it's one of those things we live with it. We live with, and we. The one thing about humans is that we find a way to get over things. We find a way to make it through, persevere through everything. It doesn't matter what happens. We find a way to make it through, and I think that's the best part about it. So, again, I just want to say good morning to my brother. I hope he's able to at least watch and tune in. He's not worse off, but he can't taste, and he's having a little trouble breathing. So we got to get him some more stuff to kind of boost him up. I can't even hug him. That makes it worse for me. I can't even put my arms around him and hug him. So I got to drop the shit off at the door, which is going to be very something I'm not used to. Like, I see my brothers and we embrace like we never seen each other in like years, but it's all good. We're going to get past it and make it work. But in this moment, your guest is in the building. My homie, he's from the state he live in is really, really big. Really, really big. So I'm going to introduce to some of you for the very first time, and some of you know who he is. Holla at my man, Rooster in the building. What's good, bro?
Hey, how you, Jah?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Haven't seen you in like 2.5 years.
At least, man, it's crazy. And yeah, I'm missing everybody, man.
Yeah. And actually, that was the last Southern Fried because no, we went to what you call it? Fayetteville was after that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That was the last one that I had to travel far to because Fayetteville is like right here.
Yeah.
That was the last plane ride.
Yeah. San Antonio was like 2 years ago. Then Fayetteville. Fayetteville was fun.
Yeah.
And then a whole year of COVID, and man, it's been a mess. So, but thank you so much for having me on. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So introduce yourself to the people. Tell them who you are. Tell them where you're from. Tell them what you do, and then let's just chill for a minute.
Yeah, my name is Rooster Martinez. I am a spoken word poet from San Antonio, Texas. I've been doing this for about 10 years. I'm also an educator. I work with youth movements here. Professor at Palo Alto College. I have an MA, MFA in creative writing, literature, and social justice. Co-founded the blah 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 poetry spot in 2012. A local poetry open mic. Have competed in slams. What else have I done? Started a literary nonprofit about 4 years ago. That's still going on pretty strong, and just enjoying life, man. I'm just I enjoy words. I'm a poetry super freak, and I love how it one thing I'll say about me and why I love it so much is I love that I've been able to meet amazing people from across the country, been able to travel in ways that, maybe I wouldn't have otherwise. And it's a gift, and it's a way to just kind of get a lot of things that have always been on my head out of my head. And I love it.
Wow. I did not know you were doing so much. And
I'm low key.
Yeah. That I found out when we came to San Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, man, he's in charge. You run around doing a lot of shit. I kept bugging you about getting a bag because I bought 5 people.
Yeah.
Right? I was like, please, I need to have a bag.
Yeah.
And but you stay busy. I do say I love between you and I shouldn't say between you and Lance because Lance when we went to
shout out to Lance.
Louisville. Yeah, shout out to Lance, man. I did enjoy so much of what because we were able to interact as more so.
Yeah.
So that was great for me, and then also obviously with Shadow being around. Whenever you could get 3 minutes alone with Shadow, you like sitting on top of the world.
Yeah. He's awesome. Yeah. He's just always got something to talk about with, like, he's kind of like a low key chatterbox because he's always like go go go. But then the second if you can keep him stationary,
Yeah.
he'll tell you the history of Southern Fried. He'll tell you about poetry in the South and poetry everywhere and like all kinds of stuff. And this is great. Just chatting it up with him.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it was nice meeting you too there. That was the first time I met you, and like it was because the venue we were at, like I think your team was there like twice, and that was kind of where I was at like throughout the competition for most of it. So we just got to chop it up. I got to see your team. Your team was fantastic.
Appreciate it.
It was great, and yeah, it was a pleasure meeting you.
Yeah, it was definitely dope meeting you, bro. I remember we were there first night, and we was there Friday night too.
Mm-hmm.
And, I ain't gonna lie, like you know how you want to go to certain bouts. I think we had the best space.
Mm-hmm.
The best space.
Yeah, that space was we were lucky for that space because this is just like deep Southern Fried San Antonio shit. But like we had a whole other. There's this one art building in San Antonio. It's like 5 stories. Beautiful place. And like we got approved to host Southern Fried.
Mm-hmm.
They were one of the first people we went to. And did you go to the erotic open mic?
I did.
Okay, so where the erotic open mic was at that bar, like it was in that area. So it was like we had 3 venues like in this one little tiny area. It would have been super tight where like all the bouts would have been in either in one building or in walking distance. So it was great.
Right.
So we were like excited. We're like, cool. We got like verbal confirmation that they would have us because in San Antonio, we're very bad at like getting things written down like on paper. We're just like a handshake and yeah, I got you. And it's like, cool. And then, a year passed and we're like, okay, we need to get something down. Let's go talk to them. And they just had no idea who we were. We're like, what? They agreed to what? You to get the whole building for a week? Like, nah. And it was like, what? So we had a mass scramble. And it was good. I think it actually worked out better. We ended up with the Radius Center, which is where your bout was, and it was a beautiful location. Like it's a weird spot downtown that they just use for like fundraisers and stuff. And they're like, yeah, we'll do it. Cool. And like a lot of the spaces were donated. So we ended up just having a blast, and the venues were really like appreciative of just being asked and being able to dedicate their space and time. So it's kind of why I love Southern Fried. Like I love the grassroots aspect of it. I love how you get to experience cities like, with NPS, it's usually in like a major city for the most part. With Southern Fried, it's in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And like not, saying Fayetteville is like a super small town. It's a military town, and I get that. I grew up as a military kid too, so I understand it. But I would have probably never gone there. Like I had no reason to. I remember I went to Greensboro, North Carolina. Got to really experience Little Rock. That was the first time I went to Southern Fried. Wow. Little Rock was great. That's what really like took me away. It was the first time I went to Little Rock. Little Rock was so much fun.
I heard it was fun. I missed that one. Yeah,
that one was cool, and it was like bouts would happen, and then every night we would just be on this bridge. Like all the poets were just on this bridge that was that crossed the Arkansas River, and like we were just there till like 3 a.m. with poetry and alcohol, and it was beautiful. So it was just a great time. They had one of the bouts in Arkansas was on a riverboat, like one of those. Like I was like, man, this is crazy.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. Like some fucking Mark Twain shit. I'm like, man, crazy. Like, and it was good because that riverboat, man, there were some bouts that were just so awesome, and like it was all wood, and like people were like stomping, and you're like, man, we're gonna sink this boat. Like they think we're playing. We're gonna sink the boat.
Oh man. So let me ask you, what was the catalyst, or what was that thing that made you decide you wanted to make creative writing part of your lifestyle instead of just something that you do like for a hobby? Like what made that like, this is what I want to do?
I have a very addictive personality. So, like, when I get into something, like, I go deep. Like, when I was a kid, it'd be comic books, or when I was or, hip hop. Like, I was like, "Oh, I gotta learn everything." And I just gotta go and stuff. And I was always writing my whole life, and I made music for, like, a little bit.
Mhm.
Um, and I just remember I walked into Puro Slam, our local poetry slam here, and saw people doing it, and I just fell in love with it like nothing else. I was just like, "This, I don't know what that is, but I want to do that for the rest of my life." And I was like, "This is amazing." San Antonio has a really unique poetry slam scene because if anyone knows, Puro Slam is also known as like the Heckle Dome. It's kind of got a very like Apollo theater vibe where if you suck, they will boo you and get you the hell out of there. Like, they do the car wash clap, like from Rolls Royce.
Oh wow.
If you suck, so like the whole crowd will be doing it till you get off stage and just like wild stuff like that. And you just saw like that was kind of when I got there, it was really interesting. There were just so many different poets doing different things.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that's what also kind of really made it interesting for me to just keep coming and coming. Like, I mean, I went there every Tuesday for like 2 years straight.
Mm.
Just because I was like, this is it. And like, write a new poem every week. And, like all that stuff. I didn't think it would actually, I don't know. I don't want to say I didn't think it would take me anywhere, but I was just very fortunate that like, it changed my life. Like, one day I was, a maniac, and the next day I'm a poet. Like,
Wow.
I had no desire to go for a graduate degree or anything like that in creative writing. I got kicked out of college 3 times, like for playing around too much, um, and barely got my degree. And
Wow.
then next thing I know, like I'm a professor, and all my friends they like make fun of me. They're like, "How the hell did that happen to you?" Um, and it was just because poetry. It was I writing and being in it. It also puts you in spaces. I'm sure you know this too because you work with a lot of people, and I see how you move. And props to you for that. Like it takes a lot of your time and energy and stuff. And when you work with youth and when you work with adults of different backgrounds and you work with the city and art galleries and all these places, it puts you in places you probably never would have thought, like, oh, I'm gonna be here, performing anything, interacting with people that and they're looking at you like, oh, hey, like you know what you're talking about when it comes to poetry. You're like, I guess.
Yeah.
So like, if someone comes up to you and they're like, hey, I need like 3 poets, you're like, got it, yeah, no big deal. And like all that just really kind of brought all these new life experiences that I wouldn't change for the world, and took me on this journey. I mean, in 2011, the first poetry slam team I was on, we road trip. So quick segue. One of the things that always trips me out is when we had Southern Fried here. A lot of people were like, "Man, it was so far to get here. It's so far to get here." We literally road trip every year, like to Nats and Southern Fried, like just in our car. So the first year I was in on a poetry slam team, we road trip from San Antonio all the way to Boston. It was like a 2-day straight trip, and we did not stop. Like no hotels, nothing. We're just switching out drivers. We smell terrible. We get there and it's like go to registration, and we're just like, man, I hope no one can smell us. And like, but at the same time, we had to fall asleep in front of a Dunkin' Donuts because we got there so early. Like, but like those are the kind of things that poetry brought me. That like prior to that, like, I mean, I worked in insurance, and I mean, there was nothing wrong with it, but I just knew that wasn't something I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I hate corporate environments. I didn't like it. It wasn't for me. And got to just live, and I've loved it ever since.
Yeah. I did. Somebody asked, the one that says, what high school did you attend? She went to Judson Rocket.
So I was shout out to Judson. I live on the west side. My family all went to Kennedy. I, however, was a military kid, so I moved around a lot. I grew up in like my earliest memories were in Hawaii. I lived in Panama twice.
Mm.
And then I spent like something like 15 years or more in like the Killeen, Texas, Central Texas area,
Wow.
Coppers Cove, Temple. So I went to high school out there, actually, Coppers Cove High School. Hated it. It was like my pops was retiring from the military and just decided to plop us in the middle of this small town in Central Texas, and it was just like, yo, who are all these like rednecks, and like, why am I here? Um, so yeah, learned a lot there. Learned a lot about myself.
You know what's funny? And I'll tell the story because you may have not heard this before. I enjoyed listening to slam, but never wanted to be a part of the slam community. I did not want to be a slam poet. I didn't want to. I didn't want to have to judge someone talking about falling down the stairs and someone who's talking about their mom dying from some hellacious disease. I
Right.
don't want to have to be there to. How do you judge that, right? And the crazy part about it was I never slammed to be on a team. I was gifted respect to my slam. It was put in my lap. Blackberry, I always send shouts to her. She said, listen, what I see in you, you can do with respect to my slam because I'm going to be teaching overseas. And I'm sitting there looking like, what? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like you said, like I took a gig last week, and I'm on this Zoom and I'm doing poetry, and city council people are on this feed. The mayor of Charlotte is on there, and I'm like, holy shit! Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
It takes you. Poetry had taken me some places that, like, I would have never been like, oh, I'm going to be there, or I plan to be there in front of these people. And so, tell me, like, one of the most memorable times you performed. Where were you? What was going on? It doesn't have to be anything famous. Just what meant that much to you.
Sure. I mean, I have a lot. But I like the biggest one that I ever got, and this was, I'll just tell the story of it because it's easier that way. So there was a poet here who we were really cool with. His name was Face, and he was in the military. And, you know, he really liked me and a couple other poets. So we kind of banded together and we just started writing a lot and became real cool. We did like some community shows to like raise funds for the homeless and such. I would love to come to New Mexico. But he ended up getting deployed overseas to the Middle East. You know, years go by, get a phone call, and it's like, hey, Face wants us to perform for the troops in Abu Dhabi. And we're like, what you mean he wants us? He's like, yeah, no, the government's going to pay us to go over there and perform. I'm like, you crazy. And we're like, yeah. I was like, so I need like a passport and shit? They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay. So it was funny because it was like, sometimes you book gigs that you just like, this ain't real. And you just like, but you just keep going like, all right, I'm gonna get my passport. And then they're gonna call and be like, we were just, whatever, it fell through, blah, blah, blah. But nah, so we go to Dubai.
Wow.
Me, Glow, who hosts a lot of the erotic open mics that we had for like San Antonio. My homie Paul Vocab, who's now the San Antonio Poet Laureate. We went to Dubai, and Dubai was like the future. Like the way they're living out there is crazy. And again, like I'm just a kid from the west side of San Antonio. I'm like, what the hell is this? So we're there for like, we got there early so we could appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
We were there for like, a week almost. And then we go to the troops, like we get picked up. We go to Abu Dhabi, where the military was. And we were there for like 2-3 nights. They like showing us all this stuff. They show us like the bomb suit. Like I got to wear the like all this stuff. It was crazy.
Wow.
And then one night, we did a workshop for the troops, and one night we had it was just like a regular at home poetry like open mic kind of situation where just people, and like they were so hyped. Like I felt like I was a part of like the USO show or something. Like they came out, and you're like, yo, like they just were so happy to hear anything from back home. And like that sort of touched me like nothing else, because like I said, my father grew up I grew up and my dad was in the military my whole life. I have a huge, tremendous respect for people who serve. I have my own complicated feelings about military, but I love them. I understand, like a lot of them aren't there because they want to be,
Right.
and it puts you in some horrible situations.
Yeah.
I've had like out of all my friends, like me and one other friend were the only ones who didn't serve, and stuff. So like it's always near and dear to my heart. But to have them be out there and to really like show so much love and be like, oh my God, like y'all, thank y'all for coming. It's like, thank y'all. Like we would have done this for nothing, and y'all like we took a 24-hour flight to get here. Like this is like, shoot, this is an experience of a lifetime. So that has to easily be number one in my book. But it, like you said, like it's put me in so many different places performing.
Yeah.
Galleries and just for the governor or mayor, like all this other kind of stuff, and you're like, why y'all want to listen to me?
Right. Well, first, let me say shout out to the troops, man. One thing that when I was young, I used to tell people all the time, I used to sit and talk to the homeless people in New York City, and I still have conversation with them now when I'm out and about and stuff like that. But it has always been an honor to talk to people who, because some of them choose that, which we don't know, right? They choose.
Yeah.
I'm unplugging, but a lot of them were war vets. A lot of them were veterans, and my brother Witz and I, we're releasing a book next month. We've written poems for all of that, just as a book dedicated to veterans.
That's awesome.
Poetry for them. I have two war vets that are going to write a review, and poet laureate of Virginia. It's a good friend of mine. Oh, you probably know Kim B. Miller.
Oh yeah.
Do a review on it too, and we're so honored to do that, and we're hoping to really. I'm trying to put that. The idea is to eventually have a foundation so that we can. The monies that they buy for the foundation for that book goes to the foundation for them, because a lot of people don't know when veterans don't have when they can't pay for their own insurance, they die and don't have anything. The only thing they can do is buried in certain plots, but they don't have anything. And we want to start doing something to help them get some better help. So that's the idea for that book. And so I have a few. Obi West does things with the veterans. So does Sporty Kings. I don't know if you know Sporty, but he does stuff with the veterans too. So I'm going through those avenues.
Yeah.
Man, it's a whole lot that I like. I couldn't imagine going to Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and dropping. Oh my! I mean, bro, I would not even know how to act. First of all, I'm being some real heat.
Yeah, dude, it was something else, man. But I mean, like I said, I completely agree with you. Like, I went to high school next to Fort Hood, which is like the largest military installation in the U.S. And like I said, all my friends joined the military. Like, I just it's ingrained in my life so much, like the moving and the traveling and being a military family. And like you said, like this country treats vets like shit. Like I don't care what no one says. Like this country does not really do their best to take care of vets, whether it's like with healthcare, mental health, transitioning from service to civilian life. And like, I'm sure if you've been dealing with vets, like I'm sure like sometimes poetry just you see, young people, and usually young men of color, usually young Black men, just like grow through poetry because they're just like, man, like I finally get to say something that's been on my heart, like, from life before joining, to life during joining. You're just like, man, like, it just really touches my heart, like in a lot of ways, to help them and give back and stuff like that. And I feel like, we can always do more for them, like easily.
Yeah.
So props to you for that book, man. And I hope, I think I have some info too. Like I might shoot you, from some vet services here. Cause yeah, man, like that's, I don't know. They're still kind of an underrepresented group, in my opinion. Like
very much so.
Yeah, like social justice movements need to kind of consider the vets and really got to consider like, what their struggles are. Cause a lot of them do come from, low income neighborhoods, low income rural neighborhoods, don't have a lot of prospects. And this is kind of it. Like, in Killeen, Central Texas, like, you have the military at your high school more than colleges. Like,
You
because
know what I mean?
they just know, like, in the West Side where I'm at, you have recruiters out here more than colleges, because it's like, well, what are you gonna do? Yeah, like, it's crazy. So I'm always looking at them in this way of like, yo, how can I help you? You do a lot,
Yeah.
like, they're amazing. So yeah.
There's so much to say about that I've learned, especially in the last few years, that I've learned about my uncle. So my grandfather and three of my uncles were in the military, and one of my uncles spent his entire life in the military.
Mm-hmm.
After he had, I don't know what actually happened, but once he was no longer in the military, he wasn't working. I don't know if he was disabled out. I don't know what happened. But after he was called to one of the first responders to 9/11, everything changed for my uncle. And then when he passed, he don't have any children. He never married. And so my mom and I were, and my uncle, we were the ones that were doing all the stuff. Bro, I was calling so many people that I knew in the military and trying to find out stuff. It is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I was born in 72. He went into the military, I think, in 69 or something like that. And think about 9/11, he was still in the military. And so
Mm-hmm.
all that time, and they're like, if you don't have any insurance, he can be buried here for free, but that's it.
Yeah.
They didn't even give money towards his funeral service
Right.
because he didn't have insurance. And I'm saying, what the fuck is that? You know what I
Right.
mean? And so, I don't want to make it a whole thing about that because
Sure.
I have some things. I'm glad we talked about this, so I know to reach out to you. I have some things that we're planning on our show. Me and AJ Houston, you know AJ Houston, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, me and AJ, we do a show on Thursdays at 7, and we can definitely talk about the military and stuff like that. But I have some things planned that I want to do. There's some things that I can't say now, I can't announce yet, but I'll announce some things really soon. And I have, I thought my workload was busy. I'm going to be worse off busy now, right? After the new year come in, it's over for me. Y'all might as well be like, this is when y'all going to see me, and then I'm busy. And
Yeah.
so tell me, let's just ask you this. Let's say you're on your road trip. You got a long drive ahead of you. What's your top 5 go-to songs on this road trip that you have to have on this road trip? It's like this shit is going in the CD right now. This is
right. So top 5 songs. I gotta have Saint
artists if you want to, because
yeah, I'll do artists because
that might make it easier.
Let me see. I love Stevie Wonder. Gotta have Stevie. Damn. I think Nirvana for sure. I'm a big fan of the band The Misfits, so I would have them. Who else? For a road trip, Pac, because he got. There's so many Pac albums like that. That'll cover like 2 states. Who else? After that, I'd probably say Wu. I love Wu-Tang.
Yeah.
I was a big Wu head, like in high school and afterwards, like stupid. Like, man, I even bought Wu wear. And then I'll probably say something like, damn. I would probably have to say something like, I don't know, like Johnny Cash or something.
I did not like Johnny Cash's Bob Marley remix album. I did not.
Yeah.
When I was in college, this young lady, she's like, listen, you love reggae music. Well, Johnny Cash did this album. We want you to check it out. And I took that shit on one song. I pulled that shit back out. I was like, no.
Yeah, that was when they were like the record industries were just trying to like cash Johnny Cash checks. So they were just like, hey, cover this album, cover this song, cover it. And like some of them are great. Yeah. But then they would do stuff like that. And it was kind of nuts. But yeah.
One of the things that people don't, when I tell them this, they get upset and I have to explain. And so I think for you to be a fan of someone, you like everything that they do. Like
right.
all their stuff. And so I tell people, I like Tupac. Some of his stuff I love, but I'm not a fan because a lot of his songs I'd skip through. And people are like, oh man, well, how? And I'm like, listen, I'm not saying he was whack. I could never say that. I'll be playing myself, right?
Right.
But I never like, I just don't like all of his shit, man. I just be like, nah, I'm gonna skip that.
Yeah, I feel you. I don't see. I'll be honest. Like that's how I feel about Biggie, man. I can't lie. Like I love Big, but there's just I don't know. Like and I love Ready to Die. Like that album is just amazing. Like I love that one so much. But some on Life After Death, I'm like, okay. But yeah, you're right. Like Pac's interesting because like there's some Pac songs that sound like a lot of other Pac songs. You're like, okay, I could skip this one. I like that version better than this version. But in terms of catalog, I mean, I don't know. Like I think I was at the right time when Pac was coming out as a kid, where I was just like. I mean, like same thing with like bands like Nirvana. Like I was there when they like it hit, and it was just like, this is like, what is this? Like I remember when California Love dropped, and I think I was like 11, 10, and it was just that perfect time of like, oh my god, like I love Mad Max, and like this is a Mad Max hip hop music video. Like what is going on? Like I didn't know you could do this. And I was already into like Dr. Dre and the West Coast.
Yeah.
So like it was just like. And then just I don't know, like Pac was spoken about so many different things, and he's one of those people who I think now like I really miss because I was talking about it, and I don't know how you feel about it, but like I feel like there's not any more like rock stars anymore, or like people who like create and like are complicated people. You know what I mean? Like it's like everyone's trying to like fit into like a mold in terms. Like, if you're an actor or an artist or in many ways, like, I think that's why I stay low key a lot. Cause like, I'm a complicated person. Like I don't want to like, I don't know. Like, I feel like sometimes getting notoriety, like in 2020, like you're also like, we want our celebrities now to almost be perfect in human beings. And it's like, and we don't talk enough about like, the struggles they faced or the mental health. That's why like every week there's like a new celebrity who's having like a mental breakdown, or like you find out they got to go to rehab and all this other stuff. Yeah. And like with Pac, like, yeah, he had problems, but he also like put a lot of it in the music. And like, he's a complicated individual. And like, if we were to go back, if you were to have young people look at his music now, they'd be like, you can't play this. This is, this is sexist. This is this. And like, they're not wrong. Yeah. But it was just at the same time too, you take a person, you take an artist kind of like, as they are and sort of, I don't know, for lack of a better term, like you have to kind of take all of them, like,
right.
Like with their faults, like, like, I don't know. I think because of the IG era that we live in, like everybody's so curated that like, you forget like people are lonely, people are depressed, people are, struggling financially, people aren't as rich as they say they are, their faith is failing them and all kinds of stuff. And it's like, damn, like I hate this sort of drive for perfection, whether it's in our looks or in our emotions or in our thought or in all these things. Like, let people be complicated and flawed. And Pac, to me, just always will be that. Like,
yeah. I think people forget that these are humans, right? Mm-hmm. If you take your top 5 all-time celebrities, I don't care what genre they were in, right? They had complicated lives. Mm-hmm. Michael Jackson, Teddy Pendergrass.
Yeah.
White went bankrupt. The OJs, one of them lived with, was it lupus? And I mean, we never knew the shit. And so, like, I think now, first of all, I'm a big fan of Dave Chappelle. I love Dave Chappelle. Right. Anytime he's got some shit on, I put it on. When I'm in a bad mood or I need some content, I go to Dave Chappelle. In fact, when I'm hosting, I'm thinking of Dave Chappelle when I'm hosting the show. That's just how I do. He said the problem with America, he said when humans, of course, but he said especially in America, we've become so brittle. Every fucking thing, it just breaks you down as soon as somebody says something. He said, man, shut the fuck up. This is comedy. And I was like on the floor. But that's it. Like, we expect people to be perfect and we're not perfect. And it's like, you know, he breaks it down to a rawness that actually I absolutely love, hands down. Out of all the comedians that are running right now, whether we think he's the funniest or not, he's one of the realists
Right.
we have right now across the board. And I worry about Dave because he's just so outspoken. I'll be like, man, I hope he's got what he needs to protect himself. Because
Yeah.
so let's ask that. Who's your top comedians? Give me a top 5, dead or alive.
Dave is number one for me. I love Dave. Like Dave is just, oh no. I mean, like, so like my girlfriend's sister is kind of young, and we were having a conversation about Dave Chappelle, and I think she's like 20, and like in her mind, like she never got to live through like the Chappelle show.
Mm-hmm.
And like she's like, oh, that's that one guy. Like I heard, like it's name recognition only. It's like, but doesn't know who this guy is. And it's like, no, you don't understand what Chappelle show did. Like with the bits and like how ahead of its time it was, and how like basically all the comedy we have now like rips off from it and stuff. So Chappelle number one. I love Richard Pryor. I love George Carlin. Who else do I love? Man, these are good questions.
Yeah.
But I never get asked them, so it like switches all the time. What other comedians? Pryor, Chappelle. I was really into Chris Rock, but I feel like as he got older, he kind of like not as good as he used to be.
Yeah.
Because I think it's that thing where like, and I think this is also kind of true of rappers sometimes, like when you hit a certain amount of money, like it's hard to talk about real life and like connect with audiences, because it's like, yeah, Chris Rock, we don't have the same problems. Like you're rich as fuck. like no. But like I love early Chris Rock. Like that shit was great. Top 5. Man, and then after that, I don't know. I would have to leave it there. Like that's my Mount Rushmore of comedians.
Gotcha.
They were just fire.
I'm a big Richard Pryor was one of my best. On Red Fox, I love Red Fox. The only thing about Red Fox is his stuff. It wasn't the Sanford and Son. His stuff was not for children.
No. It goes back to what we were talking about complicated artists, like, or Eddie Murphy. Like I would put Eddie like up there just for Raw and Delirious alone. But like, you know, like that's another example of like complicated artists where like, yeah, Red Fox is on Sanford and Sons, but then at the same time, if you listen to his comedy, like, or as a kid, you know, like I remember Eddie Murphy on, I think it was on Raw, or it was on one of them, where he's like, man, there's some kids in here. Like y'all thought it was gonna be some Beverly Hills Cop shit, and I was gonna be like, no, and like, and they're like, yeah, no, and like, and I like that, like, you know, like let people be like that, man, like you know, get every different facet of a person, and
Let me ask you, between Raw and Delirious, which one you prefer? Which one was better?
Delirious to me.
Delirious was better.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I liked Raw, but it didn't hit like Delirious hit.
Nah. The whole like your wife's not Puerto Rican, she's a Bigfoot, Gus, like that. That like changed my life as a kid. I was like a kid, and I was like, yo, like this is the funniest shit ever. Like, and your kids are Bigfoot, Gus. And I'm like, damn. Like, that's why they so hairy. She a hairy bitch, Gus. And you're like, damn. I used to just be in the playground, like, and then she's like this. Like I was like, that was great. Like, man, that was so good.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Emmanuel Cole said we sleeping on Cat Williams. I like Cat Williams, but I just don't think I'm a fan of Cat Williams. I don't think he's not up there on that level. I have to be in the mood to listen to Cat.
True. I love Hannibal Buress' comedy. I like his stand-up.
Yeah.
He got some funny shit. I like he got that bit. He was like, I eat a lot of pickles at my house, but when I run out of pickles, I got like this surplus of pickle juice. So what I've been doing is just dipping my fingers in the pickle and I flick it on my sandwich. I flick the pickle juice on my sandwich. And I don't know why, it's just a little dumb shit like that. Who
the fuck says that, right?
Yeah, I'm just like, he's like, and it just depends on the sandwich. Like maybe it needs 4 flicks, maybe it needs 6 flicks. I'm like, nah, I love Hannibal Buress. He's cool.
Me and Tamika went to see nephew Tommy, Steve Harvey's nephew.
Mm-hmm.
Hilarious. And he brought two guys with him, two other comedians that opened up for him. Bro, when I tell you, my stomach was hurting, my cheeks was hurting before he even came on the stage. Hilarious. He was one of the funniest people. I didn't know he was that funny.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, he must be going to talk about his skits. That dude is hilarious in person. Hilarious. He sold out.
I really miss Bernie Mac. Bernie was Bernie was like on the path to just be like super duper star. Like he was so good. Like, I mean, he was in like Ocean's 11, 12, and 13 on top of like still doing comedy. And, you know, man, he was so good. And like, I miss Bernie. Bernie was great.
I hung out with Tom Green.
Yeah.
So my man is a producer. He just got inducted into Hip Hop Hall of Fame.
Oh, shit.
He was producing Tom Green's rap album. Nobody knew that shit. Back in the day, Tom Green. I saw the video from like the fucking 90s and Tom Green.
On a horse video song? That's crazy. I used to like Tom Green. He was nuts. Like that was what, late 90s?
Yeah.
That was a different time, man. Like you show kids that, they will have no idea what's going on.
Bro, when he did Road Trip is my movie.
Yeah.
I felt like
he just mess with that snake all the time. He'd be like, "You about to see death. You about to have the bloody death." You're like, man, this fool is a goof, man. This guy is crazy. Like that dude was so gross. Yeah, that was great. He was awesome in Road Trip. And then he like ended up taking that kid's mom. Like,
that was crazy.
Like, yeah, Road Trip was a good movie. I remember that. That was a real good movie.
So we got like 18 minutes. What I like to do is anything you want to talk about or leave the guests with, anything you want to say to them or whatever you want to say, whatever's in your spirit, go ahead and share that with them now and just talk about it, whatever.
And thank y'all for joining. Like, let me see. I saw like a couple of questions. Rick James is also, he's also fantastic. I love Rick James. Like the breakdown at the end of Mary Jane, like is just, I don't know why, like it just always changes my life every time I hear it. I'm like, yeah, I go crazy. Someone asked me, I'll answer that question in a second. Yep, I'm from Dallas. Ain't shit in Central Texas. Yep, nothing. Yes, I am an Alice in Chains fan. Someone asked me, they said Rooster is the name of one of their favorite songs. That's one of my favorite songs too. I love that song. And I do love Alice in Chains. Rest in peace, Layton Staley. He was a great singer who heroin took out. And I mean, damn. We treat the military wrong. Let me see. Someone asked, where was it? Somebody asked the question, what is my favorite tangible thing about poetry?
That's a good question. Do we have time for that one? Like, God, that's a hell of a question. That's very weird.
Do you have a favorite tangible thing about poetry?
Like, I mean, I don't know. I'd have to think about that question in order to answer it correctly. You know what I mean?
I think it's cliche, but I'll say the people like that. Like the tangible thing is like you meet so many people and it's crazy. Like, you know, whether they're fellow poets, you know, in your own city, you know, whether they're poets from other cities, people who like, I still get tripped out when anyone's like, oh my God, like I love your poems. Like you're, you know, like I'm like, I'm very bad at taking compliments. I think that's also why I'm very much like a low key person because I'm very like awkward. Like I can talk about poetry all day, but when it's like chit chat, like with a stranger, I'm just like, so like, but yeah, when someone comes up and they got compliments for my poetry, like I that's so weird for me. I'm like thank, like, because like it's, I don't know, like you write stuff and you write it for yourself a lot of times, or you write it just for the moment or the inspiration, or you know, I don't know, like I don't really think about like, oh, this might really affect someone. So when it does, no, it like really touches my heart. You're like, wow, like, you know, that's awesome. And I think that's why COVID's been so hard, because like you just don't get to see people, and like I've been doing a lot of quarantining. Like I take it very seriously, and not because I'm afraid of getting sick, but just because I would lose my mind if I like got anybody else sick. Like I know I've known so many people who have passed or like caught it and like
Yeah.
have suffered, and like I can't do it, like out of respect to them. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I've been basically the whole 10 months just to myself and or my girlfriend, and go to this market to get food, and that's it. So but I miss the spaces and the people, but I'd say that's probably the best tangible thing.
You know, once you deliver a poem, right, and someone loves it, but I think like when somebody who's not really they're not big into poetry, and they
Right.
just, I just came out just to see what it's like, and then they come to you at the end of the show after you get off stage, be like, yo,
That's the best.
that moment makes it worth it, right? It's like,
Right.
okay, even if they didn't get exactly what I meant, but they felt it enough to feel something else. Those are the moments that I think make poetry or just make creative writing that thing for me. Or
Yeah.
when I'm doing a workshop and somebody's like, I'm the worst. I can't write this. This is not going to be good. And then you say, read it after and they're like, holy shit, I didn't know I can do that. Like those are the moments for me.
Yeah.
And I'm sure with being a professor teaching creative writing, I can't imagine.
Yeah.
I'm going to have my creative writing coach from college, my creative writing instructor from college. He's going to come on the live one day.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Man. So
That's dope.
I'm doing so much I can't say, but one of my master classes that I'm doing, I'm going to start marketing to professors anyway.
Yeah.
And so I definitely want to talk to you about some things. I'll keep you in touch. I'll talk to you about some things that I want to do to have planned, but
Cool.
I definitely want to have my master classes end up as books. And I take the poems from the books and we put them together because I have a marketing thing that I do with that. And then people who have never written a book, then they become published and don't have to worry about trying to compete to become a published author. But the next episode is to move towards professors and doctors, all that. So I definitely want to reach out to you some things, man, because this right here, imagine a master class of creative writing.
Oh yeah. No, yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, yeah.
Bro.
Like slam taught me, and like it's not just slam, it's also just spoken word, open mics, and like in my opinion, like I love slam. Slam is fantastic. I love open mics more just because like the people who are there are really there for that.
Right.
Like some people go to slams just to get caught up in the hype of points and winners and losers, and like I get, and I like that's cool too because I'm a competitive person, so like I like slam too, but like what open mics taught me so much is to cut through bullshit, especially in academia, and like you start to see like the canon differently. You start to see what people like my own students, for instance. Like I use a lot of poets who I know in my lessons when teaching poetry, and they're like, man, like I didn't know it was like this. It's like, yeah, because you were probably taught like dusty old poets like in high school, and like that's like that doesn't sound fun. That's like if I'm trying to learn how to be a movie maker, and like the only thing they show me are like silent films from like the 20s, like they look that I can record better stuff on my phone with. Like, what's that gonna teach me? So like it's really important to teach living authors, and I think that's a dope masterclass with like a whole bunch of creative writers and professors and stuff.
Yeah, man. I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited about it. I cannot wait until I'm sick of this fucking COVID shit, man. And I don't know what the return looks like. I think we're gonna be like this for a long fucking time.
I agree.
And trying to recreate what open mics are gonna be like and slams. I'm still we started doing the driving when I thought things were gonna get better. And then we were doing that and it was cool. One poet did catch COVID someplace else. Nobody else within that group, but it's spiked all the way up again. I'm like, nah, I'm not.
Oh man, yeah, like yeah.
At this rate, we're not going to have another Southern Fried unless it's going to be a limited Southern Fried, and then we don't know who's going to be able to travel. People can't leave their kids. You know what I mean? It's just so much, and I'm like, don't get me wrong, the virtual Southern Fried was cool, man. I enjoyed
Yeah,
what I can enjoy from it, but bro, I can't embrace you, right? And then when we hear Southern Fried, we got mask on, we got an elbow. I can't. I'm not gonna.
I'm the same way, dude. I'm the same. Like some friends or whatever will be like, "Hey, come over. We'll like stay 6 feet apart and we'll, play board games or something." And I'm like, I can't do that. Like me, I can't do that. Like I have to, yeah, like embrace people especially if we're drinking or having a good time. Like I want to be like, I want to live life. Like I can't do that. So I'm just like, I'll stay home.
Yeah, and then we got we expecting a daughter in January.
Yeah, congrats
So,
on that too.
thanks, man. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm really like, nah, I can't bring that shit home.
I feel you. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. It's rough. And hopefully, it'll, the vaccines are coming out. I have faith in them. I don't know how I have faith that they'll help the situation. I don't have necessarily faith that it's gonna be a magic bullet that's gonna make life better in like a month. I agree with you. I think we're still gonna be in this situation probably like 3-4 months from now. And rest in peace to the 300,000 people who died. Like that's crazy to me.
Yeah,
Like, and yeah, I don't know. It's
I don't know that I don't trust the vaccine anyway, and I don't know that it'll be something that's going to allow us to return back. I'm not taking that shit. They've never found a vaccine for the flu. I'm definitely not taking a vaccine for COVID.
right.
And then all of the stuff that they're saying it's in the shit that they got now, and I'm like, how did you fix it that quick? But the flu hadn't changed. And in my mind, I don't know. I just have a bunch of conspiracy theories that I have about this whole COVID shit. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Because I mean, it's shown. I guess this is the thing about it that I don't want to say bothers me, but has definitely put it into a different kind of perspective. Is COVID has shown us every level of American life where things are fucked up. Whether it's the judicial system. I mean, there's prisoners dying of COVID all the time, and like we don't care because they're in jail, and that's not cool.
Right.
Education system, like how much people rely on public pre-K through 12 as babysitters more so than anything else, and how important that is to working people. How people are working, how people are commuting. The risks that we were putting ourselves at prior to all this. Just it's crazy how our systems of government, like I live in a red state, and man, our governor was an asshole. Like I hate that guy, and like he but it made life so much harder than it needed to be. So like just on every level it kind of exposed so much racial inequality, who's gonna get it first. Yep. There's a lot of complicated feelings about how it's exposed us in so many ways. And I think, in my opinion, we're not doing enough to fix any of those problems.
No, not even looking towards asking the real questions, and that's my issue.
Yeah.
We got 7 minutes. I gotta ask you this question. I'm really excited to ask you this question. Name the top 5 most inspirational people in your life, dead or alive, that inspires you. And then I got one more question that leads to that.
I mean, I think the majority of it is family. I'd say like my grandmother, she's passed years and years ago, but a lot of my family is very practical people. They don't give a shit about the arts, which I get. There's nothing wrong with that. But she was an artist. She was a creative person, and she was one who really pushed my creativity. My father, he taught me a lot about my work ethic, about professionalism, which I'll tell you right now, if anyone's trying to be a poet or interested in the creative arts, one of the best ways to get ahead is just be professional, be on time, submit your paperwork early, sign the forms,
Right.
All that. Who else influenced me? Buddy Wakefield's poetry changed me a lot. I really like Buddy's work. It kind of, I think, just on when I heard it, he, in my mind, kind of bridged the gap between like complex, heady, writing that I learned as a student, listening to poets like T.S. Eliot and all these complicated poets who I don't even really like, and then like today's spoken word artist. So he was like the gateway for me. I was like, oh wow, like okay, cool. He's not like my favorite, but he's definitely I just like opened the door for me in a major way like that. I'll probably have to say Shahan from California, same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the main reasons I got here into poetry is because a girl in a Shakespeare class I was taking in college, who was a friend of mine, was like, "Oh, I think you need to listen to this poet." I was like, "Why?" She's like, "'Cause he looks like you." I was like, and then I looked at it, I was like, "He looks nothing like this is a black man. What are you talking about?" And it was really just because he had his ponytail, and I had like a ponytail situation like that too at the time. I was like, "You weird," but his poetry was great. And then when I learned about the Poetry Lounge, and then ultimately like New Eurekan Poetry Cafe and sort of places that exist across the world, really, for poets, that just changed my mind, and that hurt my whole life. And I was like, I want to build something like that here, and kind of work towards that. So definitely Shahan. And then I'd probably say, man, influential. Damn. Probably Amiri Baraka. Like,
let me show you this.
Amiri is yeah.
I keep it in my bag, bro.
People still sleep on Amiri Baraka. Like, so many people don't listen to Amiri Baraka, and like it's crazy to me. Like, and he's also similar to like Buddy Wakefield in that I remember, taking contemporary poetry classes in college and as an undergraduate, and he was always like one of the last poets that we would listen to. So like, I mean, one, the canon was already like mostly white men, and stuff like that. And like, unless you had Robert Hayden in there, which was cool. And I love Robert Hayden, but Amiri Baraka was always like, okay. And then like you get to the beat poets and stuff. And then it's like, oh, and here's Amiri. And I was like, what the, like, this is like some of the best stuff. Like, what are you talking about? Like, he was like Langston Hughes meets like, I don't know, like Tupac or like, it was beautiful, but it was still like, yo, like it was real. And like, that just was fantastic to me. I love Amiri Baraka's work. So he's Amiri Baraka.
So we got like 2 minutes left. You have any books or anything on sale that people can purchase, anything like that? Please let me know so I can put that in the feed.
They can just go to, you know what? I'm gonna make it simple. I have a website, clmtz.com. That's it.
CLMTZ?
Yeah, clmtz.com. And there I have books. I'll show this real quick. This was something I was actually proud of. I was on mushrooms for like a week, and I was really like tripped out and mad about Ruth Bader Ginsburg dying. So me and Chibi, a local Texas poet, put together an anthology of Texas poets.
Wow.
Like within a week and a half, because we were on a super crunch. So they can find that on the website. Yeah, go check it out. Thank you all so much for supporting the arts. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no doubt, bro. I'll bring you back. I'm definitely gonna have you back because the hour's never enough time.
Never enough time. You're right.
I'm getting ready to do a late night Saturday night one, and I know I'm an hour ahead of you, so that's cool. But we're gonna do a late night one, man. So thanks for being here. Thanks for answering the call.
No,
like
dude, yeah, for sure.
I pick people for a purpose. And like I said, our connection was dope when we first met. I was like, yeah, I definitely want to bring you up on. So I couldn't wait till I had an opening. So I was glad you was able to fill in. But I'm going to do a late night probably on a Saturday and just bring some people on so we could actually talk and really go through some things and talk about work and all of that stuff too. So
I love it, man. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. No, hold on tight. I'm going to close this out and hold on tight because I'm talking after. Thank y'all for tuning in, man. I love y'all. I appreciate all the support. Follow my man. Definitely go to his website. If you're not familiar with him, you're not following him, hit me up. I'll put you connected with him. Check him out. Very dope spirit, very dope brother. It's an honor to have him here. Like I tell you every day, I challenge you today to be a better person than you was yesterday, a different person than you were yesterday. You have everything you need to do so. So go out today and make today fabulous, make today amazing because you have all the qualities you need to do so. I will see y'all tomorrow morning, same time, same channel. Peace and love.